The point here is my overdriving mission is to have a healthy, happy society. We'll never have a utopia. But if we just give in to the fact that, oh, that's the way it is, corruption's the way it is, and we just give into it, we know things are going to fall apart even faster. We know globalism is a disease. It is modern slavery. It is high-tech serfdom. We know its fruits are death and poison. We must resist it. We don't have a choice. And the big secret is when we get up on our hind legs, we have victory after victory after victory. So I am not a hero. I am a cornered badger. I am a cornered Wolverine. I am a cornered little dog. Okay, it's the same thing, and I don't have a choice, and I'm doing everything I can. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, I have all the answers to fight the globalist. And God bless you all for what you've done and your support of this transmission. That's why we've been so successful. Charlotte Iserbyt, I need to add, will be joining us in the last hour today to do a full hour on Skull and Bones secret societies. And she likes to play it down that she's the reason, literally, that all of this is even public. I mean, just like Jim Tucker blew Bilderberg wide open, if you got to say one single person doggedly deserves that credit, Charlotte Iserbyt, even more, you can say it's her. She leaked it. She scurried away with her dad's books. He didn't even know it and got them out to the world. The secret annals. By the way, you get me Rob doing here, or is this the day he works at night? You bring him in here. I just had an epiphany thinking about this last night when I said get Iserbyt back on. We've got to go back up there, and we've got to get every bit of that data that we can immediately. We've got to go up there and scan every bit of it. You guys have to go back to Maine. I mean, I sent you for one thing when hiding in plain view was the real information. Hey, why don't you bring a chair in here? Why don't we talk about it in the next segment, then I'll get into the news. I told you it's impossible to cover the news, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to happen. We'll try to take your phone calls. I mean, you ought to see the news here I've got. Counterterrorism experts tells cops in the U.S. killed militant Muslims, including children. Remember Bruckheimer was in the Ithaca Times, the private, and he said, yeah, we go into Afghan camps and kill everybody. And the Army clarified, well, only certain camps. See, they train the cops, kill even Muslim children. You know, even if they don't have weapons, just kill them all. The cops are now trained to kill kids, and then they go, by the way, you've been trained like an attack dog on the dummy of the Muslim. And they go, now, by the way, now the enemy is a family on a ranch wearing cowboy hats, and they move the Muslim puppet out, and the attack dog goes right at your throat. You understand how that works? Yeah, Charlotte, guys, is on in about an hour and 40 minutes, but let's go get on the horn with her before she leaves town, and I want to dispatch you. This will be like a $3,000 to $4,000 mistake I made by the time I fly you up there in the middle of a blizzard, not getting the full Skull and Bones stuff. But call her up. I'll talk to her later and say, yeah, Alex, the more he thinks about it. I know she scanned some of this in and put it on her website, but we can't make it ever download. Maybe she can send us the file as a zip file. Also, I want to interview her son. He's really informed and interesting. And former military guy in demolitions, special forces guy. In fact, I wanted to interview him while we were up there, but I guess he had to go to work or something. But I want to send you both back up there to get the full Skull and Bones interview. Did you get video of the grandfather clocks and all that?
Yeah, we shot that a lot of that.
But then she pulled out the real stuff after the interview was done.
Oh, yeah.
The hardcore.
Yeah, we'd packed up everything, and I mean, literally everything was packed up. It took us an hour to pack everything up, and we were kind of, chit-chatting with her. And
eating cookies,
and she said, she sent her son she said, go get the books up in the attic. Or he had the idea, I think, and he came back, and it was, rosters of who was
This is after she interviewed for 6 full hours.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked, she was really tired at the end. She was like, and we're like, all right, 5 more questions. And then
all right, well, here's the deal. And I know she wanted to go for all that time.
Oh, yeah.
Literal Vulcan mind meld. You got to get up there and get 2 hours on Skull and Bones.
All right.
Now, she did speak, you guys said, about an hour on Skull and Bones. We've got that going up on PrisonPlanet.tv next week.
She talked a lot about her father and his relationship with Skull and Bones. She did a really long,
Well, I've got a list of questions.
Yeah.
like the rituals and how it ties into different elites and everything. So I really want to get you back up there. Because like I said, she's leaving for 3 months. And her book's out of print. And she's kind of silent. She's 80 years old now.
Yeah. She looks good, though.
She does.
Run around, she cooked us dinner. So she's a nice lady.
I know you guys got in late because of global warming blizzards.
Yeah.
She was demanding, that she would give you good old Maine hospitality and that you stay there. But you ended up staying in a hotel because you got in so late. But I'm sure she won't mind you coming back now that she's sweet on both of you and make you more cookies and stuff. Get that information, man.
Yeah.
Because, she plays herself down. She's the person that blew it wide open through Sutton. We need to get the full data information of the people.
We can do it.
I remember just 10 years ago with the system denying that Skull and Bones even existed.
Yeah, I've read the Antony Sutton book, and the interesting thing is he was able to put all that together through the list because, we did flip through it even though we didn't film the list. You see a guy like Avril Harriman, he has a bio more than two-thirds of a page long because he did so many diplomatic things while doing all this skullduggery through Skull and Bones with Russia and Nazi Germany, alongside Prescott Bush and the others, as you know. And so that's how he was able to piece it all together because it has all the kind of suppressed bios of all these individuals.
Yeah.
It shows what they did, shows their activity.
And then on top of that, she has this rare book from the Reese hearings in Congress, and I think it was 19...
That the government had destroyed.
Right. They thought, she thinks she has the only copy.
Like, how much was she offered for that?
She actually bought it off of a guy who was offered a lot of money for it from the Rockefellers. They offered him, whatever you want. They said, name your price. And he didn't sell, and then she sold it to Charlotte. He sold it to Charlotte for... it was about $3,000.
And then didn't he fall down and hit his head then?
Oh, I
think I remember reading that. Okay, so what else you want to throw out at folks about this interview that's coming up live today? We're going to recap a lot of stuff she's talked about.
Charlotte's a wealth of knowledge, and, just sitting back listening to, the people from 2 generations back, she's really got her eye on things, and she's really been able to chronologicalize a lot of this stuff in terms of education. That's her main forte. But then going into Skull and Bones, she's just a wealth of knowledge. So, you can learn a lot.
And you talk about her hidden influence with the Sutton book. The real story of Skull and Bones back in the early 1830s had to do with education because they sent the key scholars over to Germany to learn these psychological techniques.
Because the Prussians had funded it to create total brainwashed zombies. That's on record. And now we have total brainwashed zombies.
Well, she's an expert on education, obviously. She's traced that back, and it ties in with the Skull and Bones. So it's all the more interesting for that reason.
By the way, this article that I intend to get to later this week if I have time, but I want to spend like an hour on it. It's about how Indonesia got founded, and it's a really wicked article. Like, it's authoritarian, but it's still, for the overall good. Singapore. Mm-hmm. But in there, it admits this British-trained, basically dictator set it up, and it admits that it's designed to have people not think for themselves and be robots. The article admits that. But it tells you how good that is, Aaron. Isn't that nice? Stay there. I want to finish up briefly with Skull and Bones. I'm going to get to all the news. Then your phone calls coming up. Any other tidbits you want to add? But we're going inside Skull and Bones, live with Charlotte Iserbyt in the video interview with shots of all this... Skull and Bones paraphernalia. That's coming up, PrisonPlanet.tv.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
If you're watching us live on PrisonPlanet.tv, you'll be able to see these images. Later, it'll be archived there, and it'll also make its way out to the internet. And we were going to show these when Charlotte Iserbyt was on with us later. They've got video and still photos. But let's go over the grandfather clocks and why these are so important in all the Skull and Bones photographs. The way they arrange the men, the skulls, the grave robbing they do, the sexual activities in the cow manure, the worshiping of Lucifer. Some of this even caught on video by the New York Observer. Iserbyt had leaked all of this years before, but as you guys are talking, we'll show some of these photos. In fact, what is this on screen right now?
These are the certificates that go along with getting a grandfather clock when you're a member of Skull and Bones. She showed us the photo, too. It's not in this stack, of her grandfather. He was one of the two seated in the front row with the other 14 members, total of 16, right, on the back row.
Yes.
With the grandfather clock. The son told us a story about when you get the grandfather clock, they want you to show that you're willing to participate in Skull and Bones. So they give you the money, but you have to do the specifications for the clock. So they're all unique and they all have different stylings. But they're all official Skull and Bones.
And so that's her father's certificate of that he's a full-born made member of the true mafia.
Pretty much. And that's a lot of correspondence there between him and the clockmaker, and how much it was. It wasn't, in today's dollars, it wasn't that expensive, around $300.
But the clock is also a signet where if you're living somewhere overseas, another Skull and Bones member who may have never met you from another class, they can come and see the clock.
Sure.
And it has certain symbols put into it.
And it's always 5 minutes fast, and it never stops. They have it timed out to where they make it to where it never stops. It's never supposed to stop.
Yeah, they told us the father was very particular about making sure the clock never stopped. And
right.
They never knew why he was so preoccupied with it, but it's because that's the tradition.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a good shot of the clock right there.
Well, it's more than that. They supposedly put something into the clock. It's a bunch of black magic, but...
Well, I agree, and you also see the associated fraternity. I forget the name of it. I'm not that familiar with the Greek letters, but...
Oh, right. Yeah, the actual Greek letters for Skull and Bones.
And she gets into their worship of Eulogia. Eulogia is their main deity.
She talked a little bit about that. Mainly it was how her father went into Bohemian Grove, and he apparently didn't like it that much. He only went a couple times.
Yeah, well, when he was dying of cancer, she's told this before on air. She was listening to him for months do radio interviews about the New World Order.
Yeah.
While she was taking care of him. And he repented and became a Christian and accepted Jesus and just it wouldn't get into too many. He just said, it's horrible, it's horrible.
Yeah,
and that's what Nixon said, too.
He told her, he said, if I was still able to, I would help you. That's what he said basically a couple days before he passed. So it was a pretty powerful interview. That makes
me want to cry. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think people eventually people will see the evil and, they're either going to accept it or they're going to push it away. And, who knows what the society was like back then.
Well, there is something sexy and powerful about evil, true black evil. But once you really get close to it, you find out it is not good.
Right. And, his soul was probably, aching at some point. And hearing his daughter hit the path. And, she's faced a lot of stuff for the path she's taken. A lot of people, her family's kind of divided on how, all the work she does. So the son that we met is totally, with her. He's
an interesting guy. Tell folks about him.
Yeah, he was in Iraqi 1. Yeah, Samuel is his name. And right when we got there, he pulled out 2 photos from the Pentagon blast and was going over how, he's like, this is an incendiary device because there's no smoke, and here's the smoke 3 seconds later.
Well, he says it's high-powered plastic explosive.
Sure.
A white-orange blast.
Well, and there's people that were talking about smelling cordite in the Pentagon. They knew what it smelled like, and they could smell it. And, it just so happened that was the area of the building that was hit that had all the financial records from the $2 trillion that disappeared, that Rumsfeld was talking about on September 10th. So all that stuff got destroyed, and, there was a few people in there that I guess who were in on that investigation also died.